Right, so this first talk is on Vagrant Hostmanager, which is a plugin for Vagrant. Now hopefully everybody here uses Vagrant or is aware of Vagrant. You may be aware then it has quite a good plugin system. And we're going to talk today about one of those plugins. So right, what is Vagrant Hostmanager? So this is just from the actual website, the readme.md file, the markdown file that comes with it. Gives a sort of quick breakdown of what it actually is. It's a plugin that manages the host file on guest machines and optionally the host. Mainly the host actually. Its goal is to enable resolution in multi-machine environments deployed with the cloud, provided where IP addresses are not. The thing at the bottom there is how you install it. Very, very simple to install any Vagrant plugin. It's just a one-liner. So we're going to go into a bit of depth about what this actually is and how it can help you. So here's the scenario, okay? You want to access your Vagrant VMs using a nice, easy to remember host name. Something like myproject.local or PHPBelfast.dev or something like that. So some nice, easy host name rather than having to type in like an IP address or 127.0.0.1 ports 8080 or any sort of port forwarding you might be using. So there's a couple of ways of doing that. You can see here in this example, myproject.local. By the way, hopefully everybody can actually see what's on the screen here. I know there's a wee bit of glare and stuff from the light coming in inside. There are some code snippets and things throughout this. But yeah, this is the ideal scenario. So my-project.local, and you get whatever. Pip Boy celebrating Fallout 4 being announced yesterday, if anybody's a gamer. So the usual approach to doing something like this would be within your Vagrant file, you would have something like config.vm.network, private network, and then you specify an IP address. Okay, so something on your local LAN that isn't taken already. After that's done, the Vagrant box is booted up, ready to go. Add an appropriate entry to the host file on your guest OS then. So that's basically saying that any requests to my-project.local gets pushed through to that IP address, which is the IP address of the VM. So that's how you would do. That's how you would arrive at that scenario, generally speaking. There are some problems with the approach though. Editing a host file every time you start a project can be unwieldy. Now if you have a lot of projects and you're constantly having to go into that file, make changes to it, add, delete things, it's just a bit of a pain. It's more of an inconvenience than anything, but it is a factor. Unless you want to start doing IP conflicts, each project should have its own IP. If you have lots and lots of projects, right, you may want to have, in some cases, you may even want to have a couple of VMs running at the same time, right? Maybe you have like a web VM, then a database VM, and then a task VM, whatever. There may be cases where you have that. Each of those boxes will need to assign its own specific IP address, okay? Again, also if you have multiple projects, and you end up using the same IP over and over and over. Say you have an idea of an IP address that you want to assign all of your VMs with spec on. It means then that unless you start changing some of those IPs as you need to, you'll run into conflicts. So it's a wee bit, it's not the most flexible approach. If you work with a team of if you work on a team of developers and multiple projects, and all bets are off, right? Sort of goes along with the second point there. If you're assigning an IP address to each VM you start up or you set up, you have two developers, both bring down the same VM, start it up, right away you've got a conflict. So then you have issues with, well, does there need to be like a centralized database containing every single IP address that's in use by all my VMs that each team member can access and make sure that if they're setting up a new VM, they're not using one of those IP addresses. As well as that then, do you really want to be committing local IP addresses to your repositories? Really, whenever you set an IP address in your Vagrant file, you're specifying something about your local dev environment. Okay? It's not really something that should be in the repository, really. Well, what if you pulled on that project with a different environment? Maybe you're from a work PC, you're going home using a home PC, suddenly that IP address is outside of the range of your local network or whatever else. So not great. Partial solution to this here, okay, is to use DHCP instead of static IPs. So what this will do is, instead of you actually specifying an IP address in your Vagrant file, this will tell Vagrant to fetch an IP from your router or your host operating system. We've had some weirdness going on. The assumption is when you specify DHCP that the IP address is built from the router, but we've seen cases where the IP address is not from the range, the DHCP range that's specified in the router. So I'm not really sure where that actually comes from, but that's besides the point. It's an IP address that's unique for each project, so you're not going to have any conflicts. Your system or your router will just decide this IP address is free, the VM can have that. So that's a good solution, but the problem is then you can't really update the host file anymore because you don't know what the IP address is ahead of time. You could type your Vagrant up, go in and query the VM and find out what IP address is being assigned to this VM. Great, got this. Now I'll go and edit my host file again, set that IP. Then the next day you come along, do another Vagrant up, and it's got a different IP. So you're constantly having to manage that host file. As well as that, you'll end up with cases where it's just a general issue with changing host files. You'll end up with a project that is defunct, it's been deleted, but there's still an entry for it in your host file. And it just becomes messy, confusing, whatever else. So there's a solution to this, and that solution is Vagrant Hostmanager. Here is a Vagrant file that has the Hostmanager part added. I'll jump through this really quickly. So at the top we have hostname myproject.local. So that's the hostname of this VM that we're going to be running here. We've set up DHCP networking, it's fine. Got a few settings here, config.hostmanager.enable. That's just saying enable the plugin for this Vagrant file. Another couple of settings, manage host true, include offline, don't worry too much about that. The main part of this is here, and hopefully you can see this, config.hostmanager.ip resolver. So this is a procedure in Ruby. It gets called whenever your VM is started. When you type Vagrant up, that bit of code gets executed. And what this code does in this case is it makes a call on the VM. It actually sends a command to it, vm.communicate.execute, and then it passes in a string, which is just a load of GNU utilities, which will do ifconfig to get the Ethernet adapter, get the IP address from that, parse it out, does a bit of string splitting and whatever else. But the end result is that procedure returns the IP address of the VM. Okay, so you type Vagrant up, Vagrant starts the VM in the background, and as soon as it's up and running, this automatically happens. This goes in to your VM, finds out what the IP address the VM is. So if you're using DHCP, it doesn't matter. This here will actually figure out the IP address of the system for you. And you can customize this code as well as this. This is for Debian Ubuntu, I guess. But that can be customized. That command can be customized. It's just a standard Linux string, command string. It can be customized to find the IP address for that system, and then it returns it. So the end result then is that the the host name specified in your Vagrant file is automatically added to your system's host file when the VM started. Remember the host name? Let's hear about it. So, Vagrant Hostmanager grabs that, it grabs the IP address, built from that bit of code, and it updates your host file on your system. It says, that IP address, that host, and it wraps it in a wee bit of fluff there, just gives it an ID and things like that there, so it can manage it later. It sets it automatically. So you type Vagrant up, and you can instantly access your project from host, which in this case is my project.local. Not only that as well, whenever the VM is halted or destroyed, the entry is then removed from the host file, keeps it nice and clean for you. Okay. That's really all there is to this. Thanks for listening or watching. It's a very, very useful plugin. It's only in the past year or so, a couple of years, it's matured to the level where it can be used in this fashion. I had a look at it years and years ago, but it wasn't quite there, and then sort of rediscovered it recently. It's great. Rather than having to specify IP addresses in your browser, remember IP addresses for your project and whatever else. Just type in hostname and go on. Okay.
Where'd you get the plugin?
Where'd you get the plugin? It's
just like to.
Yeah.
I miss that one? Did I miss it?
Just do Vagrant plugins as well.
There you go.
And install it.
So Vagrant, it has its own philosophy or something that connects to that, installs the plugin. So yeah, that's the way you do it.